Hey, John Morris here, johnmorrisonline.com. So in this video, I'm going to go through how to get freelance jobs on Upwork, and I'm going to be running through how to get approved, how to pick a niche, how to build your profile, how to bid on jobs, bringing your own clients, your exit strategy. So we're going to go through a lot of this stuff and deal really my entire strategy for getting work and using Upwork to help you build your freelance career. Now, if you don't know me, like I said, my name's John Morris. I've been a freelance developer for 15 years. I started out on Upwork. I'm now a teacher. I've teach over on Skillshare primarily. I've taught over 5,000 students. I'm the creator of the #3 freelancing class on all of Skillshare. I'm probably best known as a freelancer for my work with Inc. Magazine, building their Business Owners Council. Also, Michael Hyatt and his Platform University. I've worked with people like Tim Ferriss on some stuff with his 4-Hour Body, Lewis Howes, Ray Edwards, and a number of others. I'm married with 3 boys. I live in the Ozarks in Missouri. I'm in the middle of building our forever home, as you can kind of see from the construction and makeshift living going on behind me here. Hopefully, we're getting close, so hopefully not for too much longer. Anyway, that said, I want to dive into, like I said, getting freelance jobs on Upwork. So the first thing that we need to talk about is getting approved. And Upwork has recently, I'll say, at least in my experience of it, having done this for as long as I have, has moved into having an approval process. They didn't used to have that. Now they have that. And so you do have to get your profile approved over there. Now, the first thing that I want to say about this is it's a good thing. Having been on Upwork as long as I have and been on it in the early days, it may not seem like it. It may be frustrating and it may be annoying, but ultimately it's a good thing because it's going to help improve the overall quality of the network, because there were a lot of freelancers on there that were doing shady things or just sort of weren't able to perform and sort of bring down the quality of the network. And what happens specifically with a network like this when you have that is clients tend to see the site as a whole as a problem. Like, I'm not going to find any good freelancers over there. And so the overall volume tends to go down. And so that it's sort of the marketing principle of the rising tide swell all ships. The more clients that are coming in, the more jobs that are coming in overall is better for everybody. So it helps improve the network and quality. It also leads to less competition. There's less people that are able to get in, so you're not competing with as much riffraff and so forth. So it's a good thing, even if it might be annoying or frustrating. So some things that you can do to, I don't think anybody knows exactly, Upwork doesn't say exactly what you have to do to get approved, right? So we don't know 100%, but I think there's some things that are sort of standard across the board. So the first one is just fill everything out. I see a lot of people, oh, my profile didn't get approved. And I go and they wrote a sentence for their profile or for their overview. They have one portfolio item or none. They didn't fill out any of their schooling or certifications or do any tests or any of that sort of thing. If you want to get approved, you need to fill everything out. Take the time to do that. I think that's just a basic common thing. You also want to list as much proof as you can. So I talk about this a little bit. It's sort of changed with Upwork a little bit, but we'll talk about being a specialist later. But when you're trying to get approved, you want to list everything that you can, every skill, every portfolio item you can put in there, everything you can say on your overview, every test, every certification, everything that you can do to show Upwork that you're going to be a quality freelancer. So list as much proof as you possibly can. Another thing that you can do is you can try to look for in-demand skills that are not oversaturated. So if you can find something related to what you do that isn't necessarily oversaturated. And one way that you can do this is Upwork actually releases every quarter a skills index. So they sort of list the top freelancing skills that are out there. So go through that list and look for things that are related to what you do. And if you can put that on your profile as a skill, that's going to give you a better chance of getting approved. It's not 100% because just because a skill is in demand doesn't mean there's a ton of projects over on Upwork where that people are looking. It just sort of means that it's growing, and it could be oversaturated as well. So it's not 100% thing, but it's going to be better than not doing it. And overall, when it comes to approval, the big thing to remember is that Upwork is a business, and so they want to make money. Forget all their marketing and everything they might say. They're a business. They want to make money. And so they want freelancers on there who are going to make money, who are going to do a good job. Bad client experience is the kryptonite of these kinds of sites. So you have to show them not just, I deserve it, I think I'm good. You have to show them that you can make them money. And the way you do that is showing them that you have a skill set that they want. You're a reliable person. You've got some sort of proof to show that you can actually perform. So that's the bottom line when it comes to approval. Now, one sort of thing that can help you, that's sort of a hack maybe, is they do have a bring your own freelancer program. So if you can get someone outside or a client to build an account on Upwork, or maybe they're already on Upwork, if you can get a client to invite you to their project and hire you on Upwork, then I don't think that it's automatic 100% that your profile will get approved. Right? You as the freelancer still have to go an extra step and say that you want to create a full profile. You can have like a minified profile that works for that particular client, and that's it. But if you want to get approved, take that extra step, fill out the full profile, and then you're just way more likely to get approved if you've actually brought in work to Upwork itself, because that's what they're after. All right, so hopefully that gives you a way forward in terms of getting approved. The next thing that you need to do, and to me this is the most critical part, and I think the part that most people don't do, they just sort of guess, and then they really don't have good answers to the questions they need to answer on down the line. But the next thing you need to do is pick your niche. So, and what I always advise people to do is to be a specialist versus being a generalist. And I've tried to think of lots of different ways that I can explain this to people to have it really hit home and make sense. So this is my latest and greatest, and hopefully it does the trick. So I want you to imagine that you're a client and you do a search over on Upwork for membership site. You want someone to build you a membership site. And the person who is listed right at the top of that search result, their title says web developer. Now, what's the first thing that will go through your mind if you see that? I want you to stop and actually think about that for a second. What is the first thing that you would think? Now, I don't know what you came up with, but I can tell you what the majority of clients are going to think, having worked with as many as I have. What they'll wonder is, I wonder if they can do a membership site. The very fact that they have to ask that question, 90% of clients will move on. They won't even look at your profile. This is Upwork, anywhere else, your own website, whatever. They're not even going to look because they're looking for something specific and you don't fit that. So a lot of people think that by putting web developer, oh, I fit into all these categories. I can fit and do a membership site. I can do a WooCommerce. I can do, PHP. I can do JavaScript or whatever. I can do all these things. But in reality, what happens is you actually appeal to nobody, because every 90% of the people that are on a freelance site are looking for a freelancer. They're not looking to hire an employee that's a general developer that can do all these random things. They're looking to hire someone who can do this specific thing that I need done. Right? If you go to a photographer, you don't want a photographer to do photos. You want a photographer to do wedding photos. You want a photographer to do senior pictures. Right? You're looking for something specific, a specific end product. And so as the freelancer, you have to figure out, what is that specific end product that I'm going to offer? I may be a web developer. I may be able to do all of these things. But what specifically am I going to offer that I'm best at, that I have a lot of proof for, that I can get hired for, etc.? Okay? So you really want to be a specialist, and you need to pick a niche. And you need to separate how you pitch yourself when you're trying to get a job at a company versus how you pitch yourself for freelance gigs. It's two different things. Companies want employees that can do lots of different things, that are well-rounded. Freelance clients, they want specialists who can do very specific things that they want done. Okay, that's the difference. Now, Upwork also knows this. So Upwork is aware of this, and they have their algorithms tuned to account for it. So not only you're going to be more appealing to clients, but you're actually going to be able to rank better in their searches and their listings and their suggested freelancer stuff and so forth. So both end up working in your favor. Now, as a side note, I do have a course called Freelancing on Upwork, which is the number 3 ranked freelancing course on all of Skillshare. And one of the things that I cover in detail is how Upwork's algorithms work. Specifically, the 2 primary factors that they use to determine how freelancers will rank in their searches and their listing and their suggested freelancer sections and so forth. Plus, then I go into how to build your profile. I don't want to say to game the algorithm because that's not really right, but give you the best chance of ranking higher in those searches and listings. And as I said, it's on Skillshare, which means as a teacher there, I can give you a 2-month free trial of Skillshare. They do ask for a credit card, but they don't charge it. So you can sign up, take the course, take any of their other 21,000 courses over there, and then just cancel before the 2 months is up, and you don't have to pay anything. You can learn how to be successful on Upwork and anything else that you want to learn without getting charged. And just so you know, they pay me for watch time. So I don't really care if you end up ultimately staying or not, although I would prefer that you did, so you take more of my courses. But they pay me for watch time, so all I really care is that you go through the course and you learn the stuff, and hopefully by the time you're done, you'll want to give it a positive review and ranking, and that'll help me and so forth. So that's my sort of evil goal with all of this. Anyway, the link for all that, the details and links and so forth is at upwork101.com. You can read reviews of the course over there as well too. All right. The next thing that you need to do then is build your profile. So when it comes to your profile, as we talked about, when you're getting approved, you want to go sort of general, right? Because you want to show them you're this well-rounded person. But once you get past that, then you need to move into being a lot more specific so that you rank in these specific searches, and that when you rank, you have a title, overview. Imagine someone does a search for membership site, and now the number 1 listing there is you, and your title says membership site specialist. And then they go and they read your overview, and the very first thing it says is, I specialize in building membership sites. I built membership sites for ABC, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Or I've built over 100 membership sites on all sorts of different platforms, or whatever. You give them, I specialize, then you have some proof, right? And then you go into say, so if you want to hire me, blah, 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 and they hire you. That's going to be a lot more appealing for someone who wants a membership site than I'm a web developer. I do, I know PHP and HTML and CSS, right? That's just not a very compelling argument. So when it comes to building your profile, you want to be specific, right? So when the very first thing, or the 2 things that people are going to see first, are your profile picture and your title. So your profile picture needs to be a good looking picture. It doesn't necessarily have to be from a professional photographer, but do your best to make it look like a professional picture, like you're someone that can be trusted. A lot of freelancers try to make it edgy or cool. Keep it simple, but keep it professional. A nice shirt, a good smile, a good quality photo. A headshot doesn't have to be anything crazy. Make sure it's like kind of a plain background. You don't want to be standing in front of the 7-Eleven or whatever. But have a good picture. And then your title, as I've sort of discussed quite a bit, needs to be specific. And you can be as simple as XYZ specialist, if that makes sense for what you do. So then your overview. When you get into your overview needs to, at a minimum, include any proof that you have. So proof can come in the form of name dropping people you've worked with, and can come in the form of volume. It can come in the form of certifications. It can be really anything, but you need to have some sort of proof. Tests, you want to take as many that are relevant to what you do. Certifications, anything you can list. I would list your full job employment, or your employment history if it's good, just to that adds more proof. And then the big thing is your portfolio. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to the portfolio, get a little, especially if you're brand new, you don't have job history, you don't have clients that you've done work for. What do I do? Your portfolio does not need to be filled with things, especially early on, that you've done for clients. It just needs to show people what you're capable of. So if you need to do things for free, open source, nonprofit, or just to put in your portfolio, do that. Just make sure it's visually appealing and it's only your best stuff. So it's not about volume, it's about quality. So you want people to open that portfolio and go, wow. Now, if you have really high quality and really high volume, that's better. But quality over volume when you first start out. So if you build your profile in that way, the thing to remember is whenever you bid on a job, your profile shows up right along with it in your bid. So it's very important, even if you're just going out and bidding on jobs, you're not trying to get people to look at your profile and hire you. It's still there. So if you build your profile in that way, most of the people who actually put in the effort and do that and really understand and get it right, they end up having no problem on Upwork. They can get pretty much whatever work they want. So it's been very successful method. All right, so that's your profile. Next is bidding on jobs. So, well, I think one of the mistakes that people make is they spend, they think of it as a numbers game. And so they just go out and bid on anything and everything. They assume that they're going to get a certain percentage of people, and then that's just how they approach it. When I was on Upwork, and we'll talk about exit strategy a little bit later, but when I was on Upwork, I never in a month went through all of my connects. That was not the plan. The plan was not to go through all of the connects. The plan was to bid on as few jobs as possible because it was work. I didn't like doing it. So I would do as little of it as possible. So the way that you do that is you start by sifting through all the trash. Use Upwork's search filters over there. Search for the most ideal job, the exact kind of job that you want, the keyword terms, in the income range, fixed price or hourly, whatever you prefer. Like, make those filters super tight to find the best jobs that are exactly what you want, and start bidding on those first. Now, if you're like me, in most months, that's going to be maybe 5 or 6 jobs is all that's going to show up there. But I bid on those first because those are the ones that I want. And if I get those, I'm not going anywhere else. Then when you have that tight circle of filters, then also have a little bit wider range and a little bit wider range and a little bit wider range. And so if you get to the end of the month and you've got nothing, then you get to the point where, hey, I got to pay the bills. I'm willing to take just about anything, right? So have those sort of concentric circles of how you filter through jobs. When it comes to actually writing the bids, it's simple stuff. Read the job description all the way through. A lot of people just don't do that. They copy and paste bids. Don't ever do that. It's going to make you miserable. So read the job description, and what you're looking for is key hiring criteria. Okay, so these are things they say, questions they ask that might seem really important to them, that seem like these are the things that they're going to base their evaluation of you on. And so these are, when you pull those out, and there's no science to it, right? You got to use your best intuition and like, oh, that looks important. Oh, that looks important. Hey, here's these 5 things that look really important to them. How can I answer these, right? How can I show them, prove to them that I meet these criteria? If you write your bids in that way, you're going to not only demonstrate to them that you read it, that you paid attention, you're detail oriented, but you're actually answering the things that matter to them most. Again, doing that, you're going to be ahead of 90% of the people on there that just copy and paste or just skim through real quick and they're in the numbers game mode. And right, I spent a lot of time on my proposals. I read through it thoroughly. I pulled out stuff. I really thought about how I was going to answer it because I didn't want to do this again. So, that's how you sort of get out of that rat race and that number game. The side benefit of that is you end up working on projects that pay you well with much better clients. Like, it's a lot less miserable. So put in the time and the effort there. Now, there's some things that your proposal should always include, even if it's on your profile. The first and most important is proof. And I'm going to I harp on this throughout this video, my course, everything. Proof, proof, proof. Don't say you can do something. Demonstrate that you've done it before. Right? Whether that's with a portfolio item, it's with a client you worked with, it's a volume thing, it's a certification, it's a degree, it's a project that you did in high school, whatever. Something is better than nothing. Okay, so proof, 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 proof. Also, restate the fact that you specialize. They may not read your profile, so restate the fact that I specialize in doing this. I've built 800 of these kinds of websites, or I've walked 700 of these types of dogs, or I've done 800 of these kinds of photo shoots. Whatever it is, restate the fact that you specialize in it, that this is what you do. This is your thing, to hammer that point home. Make sure and answer any questions or objections they have. So if they have questions that they want you to answer, of course, answer those. Look in there for any things that are like deal breakers for them. Like sometimes clients will put in there, like, if you've done this or you can't do this, it's a deal breaker, or I need to have this. Look for those things and make sure to address those specifically. And at the end, ask for the sale, right? Tell them to hire you. Say, if that sounds good, just be sure to accept my proposal and we can get started. It can be something that simple, but make sure and ask for the sale. All right, so that's bidding on jobs. Now, next is something that I sort of get a little flack on, but if you truly want to make Upwork work for you, I suggest this. This is a long-term strategy, but it will pay off. And this is actually this is how I kind of turn the tables a little bit on Upwork when I started over there. Because when I started over there, I didn't have a big portfolio. I didn't have all of the things that I have now that I can talk about. I was pretty much starting from scratch. And so this is what I did to sort of turn the tables and get going. So that is to bring your own clients to Upwork. And a lot of people go, well, why would I do that? If I can get a client outside of Upwork, why would I bring it to Upwork and then have to pay the fee and all that sort of thing? First thing is, Upwork has a program where if you invite someone who's not on Upwork to Upwork, right? This is what we're talking about. You pay 0 fees on clients you invite for the life of you working with them. So not just the first project, any project you work on them with from that point forward, you don't pay any fees. So you don't have to worry about that. And then the second thing, and now one caveat is you have to be top rated or rising talent. Right, so you're going to have to get some work over on Upwork first, and get to that point. And getting rising talent is actually not that hard. But if you do good work and you do what I'm talking about, you'll probably get it. But once you get that, then you can start bringing clients in from the outside, and you won't pay any fees on it. But the strategy here is to bring work from the outside to get work on the inside. I'll use a general online business sort of example that you may have seen, right? Have you ever seen someone who you were on their mailing list and they said, hey, go follow me on Instagram? Or they're on Facebook and they say, hey, go follow me on Twitter. Why do they do that? Because they're trying to take people over here and help them build their profile over here. Okay? It's the same idea. You take people from outside to build your profile on the inside. And what happens is as you build your profile on the inside, now those algorithms start to work in your favor. Now you start getting work from the inside of Upwork that had you never brought those people from the outside, you might not have got, because you never would have got your profile rolling to that point. So like I said, that's a long-term strategy, but it works very, very well. And it allows you to just almost, if you get good at getting work on the outside, you almost don't even have to worry about Upwork, because you're just gaming the system, quote unquote. Not really, right? They love it, but you're sort of just tilting everything in your favor without having to worry about where you show up on all their lists and so forth. This is the thing that I did. I started my YouTube channel way back in the day. I started it to do that. I started blogging to do that. I built a mailing list to do that, and I pushed it all to Upwork. And I would say probably the first 5 or 6 people that hired me on Upwork, I brought in from the outside. But then what happened is now I had these portfolio, I had the job history, I had the portfolio, I had all of these things, and now people from the inside started getting work. And my later clients, like clientele, the majority of them were actually people that hired me from Upwork. And then we'll keep hush hush on this, but then they ended up actually following me off Upwork. But that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, that's the strategy. It can help you push the algorithms in your favor. The way that you do that, like I mentioned, content marketing, like I did, social media, ads, like anything that you would do for a regular online business that wasn't freelancing or wasn't related to Upwork, you just do that, like all of those things. Now, the one thing that I'll say here is you want to make sure and use a redirect link. So you never want to send someone straight to your Upwork profile. And the reason that is, well, maybe you decide later you want to move to a different platform, or you decide later you want to move completely off of Upwork. All of those links, if you just link directly to Upwork, you either have to go change them or they're just going to point to a profile that you're not using anymore, and it makes it hard to leave. If you use a redirect link, you can just go in and just change the redirect to now go to your services page or to your other profile, and all of those links still work. So always use a redirect link. Never, you can buy a domain and just redirect it. You can build, there's scripts out there, there's Bitly, like whatever. Just use a redirect link so that you can change it later on down the line. And that sort of leads into then the last thing here, which is the exit strategy. So you want to leave Upwork as soon as you've established a reputation and built up your portfolio. You're almost guaranteed to make more money because there's less competition. You're not bidding directly against other people. People are coming to you directly, and they're only looking at you and wanting to hire you. So you almost always make more. Like I said, there's less competition. By that point, you're going to know your market better. So you're going to be able to write a services page and know what to put in your portfolio and know what to say and all of the things that you need to do that might seem hard now and when you're first starting out. After you've been on Upwork and done it for 6 months or a year or 2 years, however long it ends up being, you're going to know a lot more of that stuff. All that stuff's going to be easier. You're also going to be a lot more confident. You're going to be less worried about, can I deliver? Will clients like me? All of that stuff. So you can be more aggressive in how you market yourself. And like I said, the big thing is if you have that redirect link, now once you make that switch, then you can change that redirect link to point to your services page on your own site. But you want to leave when you feel it's right, where you can you're getting enough work outside of Upwork and you've built up enough of a system and a business outside of Upwork that you can do that. So that's the exit strategy, and that's sort of that's my strategy for Upwork. That's essentially what I did in order to use Upwork to build my freelance business. And it very much is, I would approach it, use Upwork to build your business, because they certainly are going to use you to build theirs. Now, sort of the final thing, like I said, I have an Upwork course over on Skillshare, and again, it's the number 3 ranked freelancing course over there. It's actually behind 2 Skillshare original courses, which are courses they sort of, I don't know, they contract or they work with people to build themselves. So I like to say I'm the number 1 real course over on Skillshare for freelancing. Anyway, it's got over 1,000 students. 67% of students say it exceeded their expectation. And sort of the basic pitch is everything I've covered here and some more stuff, of course, I walk through that step by step in that course. So I show you how to figure out your niche and how to do the research on Upwork itself, what to put in your title, how to write your overview, finding clients. It's all right there. It's screen capture. I do it on the screen and just show you what to do so you can follow right along. It's an over 8-hour course, so it's very detailed. We walk through everything very specifically. And as I said earlier, you can take it for nothing with the 2-month free trial of Skillshare that I can give you. So if you want to make Upwork your thing, you really want to do Upwork right, and you just want to have someone show you exactly what to do, then I think it's worth giving a shot. You can get all the details, all the links, read the reviews, and so forth over at Upwork101.com. All right, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, and we'll talk to you next time.